Hi folks, in the last video I kept using the word skill without properly explaining what it is. That choice was deliberate because I wanted you to see the result before understanding how the entire ecosystem works. The result is what drives how you write the skill and how you understand the functionality of it too. And now let's talk about what's actually going on under the hood. If you haven't seen the first video yet, I'd highly recommend going and watching that one first, especially before this one, because this one directly builds on top of it. It'll make more sense in that order. Well, the link's in the description and also in the above iCard for you to go check it out. For everyone who's back, here's what this video covers. By the end of it, you will exactly know 5 things. What a skill is, how it's different from a prompt, how to trigger one, how to pick the right one for the job that you're doing, and how to start thinking about this at a team level rather than just for yourself. So let's get into it. Let me start with the thing that most people get wrong about skills, which is thinking that they're just better prompts. They're not. The difference is actually more fundamental than that. So think about it this way, right? There is a plumber that you require to fix something in your building. Option 1 is that you call a general contractor every time, explain the whole problem, describe what a bathroom looks like to them, tell them what tools they'll probably need, they'll do a fine job. But you're also doing a lot of the thinking for them. The second option that you have at hand is that you have someone on your team who already knows your entire building. They've done this job before. So you say the tap on the second floor bathroom requires repair, and they know exactly where the pipes are and what to do. They don't require any kind of briefing. Well, think about prompts and skill in the same manner. A prompt is the first version and a skill is the second. So a prompt is an instruction that you probably write each time. So you're telling Claude what to do, what format to follow, what looks good. Every time you start a new task, you're describing the job from scratch. And Claude is very capable, but it only knows as much as actually what you've told it in that moment. A skill, on the other hand, is different. It's a pre-built workflow. So someone has already done the thinking aspect, the definition aspect for you. So they've defined what the job is, what the output format should be, what the quality standard looks like, and that knowledge lives inside that skill itself. So you don't describe the actual job, you just hand Claude the raw material and it runs the entire workflow. So what a skill knows that a prompt doesn't is it knows the output format. So let's say the PowerPoint skill doesn't give you the text about the presentation, but it gives you an actual PowerPoint file. At the same hand, the Excel skill doesn't describe a spreadsheet, right? It actually builds one. So the output is the deliverable and not a draft of the deliverable. It knows the quality standard, what a good stakeholder deck actually would look like, what makes a caption ready to post versus something that needs editing. That's baked into the skill. So you're not managing that output on your end. It knows that workflow. Some outputs require multiple steps to get it right. Extract this, restructure that, format it this way. The skill will run that entire sequence without having you to prompt it multiple times. Here's the one-line version I keep coming back to, right? A skill is basically a trained junior in your team for one specific job. So you don't manage them, you just give them the brief and they do it. So that framing matters because it changes how you use the tool. You wouldn't hire a junior team member and then stand over their shoulder the entire time rewriting everything that they do. You'd give them the brief, let it run, and then review the output, and that's exactly how you use a skill. I've put down all the differences for you so it's easy for you to understand in a tabulated format, and let's quickly run through it. So here's the difference between a prompt and a skill. So what does a prompt do? In a prompt, you have to write the instructions every single time. So every time you want to do something, you have to write it again. You describe what good looks like, so it varies. In a skill, on the other hand, the instructions are preset usually, or when you develop your own skills, you set the instructions yourself, so you know what you want every single time. Then in a skill, the quality standard is usually built in. So this is especially in relation to, let's say, skills that make PowerPoint presentations or documents or Excel files. These are inbuilt skills. So in inbuilt skills, the quality standard already exists. And when you're creating a skill, you can also set the quality standard. Now, a prompt, the output is usually text in a chat window. And in a skill, the output is usually a finished file or a deliverable. These deliverables are known as artifacts in the Claude ecosystem. So these artifacts can be HTML pages, right? Or SVG files, depending on what your output is and how you describe it. Um, Sometimes prompts can also lead to the creation of a deliverable, but it depends on what and how you exactly define the output. In a prompt, you have to do the production work yourself because there is no end output. It's just text that is given to you. So, translating it into a PowerPoint, you have to do all of that production work yourself. In a skill, the production is part of the skill, right? Prompts are inconsistent. Basically, it depends on how well you prompt it. A skill is consistent because once you've set the standard, it runs the same way every single time. So, the last row is actually the one that matters the most at a team level, and we'll come back to it later in this video. All right, let's get on to the practical aspects. So, we understood the differences. Now, let's get to the practical part. So, I've opened Claude, right? This is what the interface looks like. You might be familiar with the chat interface. So it says, Good afternoon, Chaitanya, that's my name. And here you have different options to either write something, to create code, bring something from my calendar, and bring something for Gmail. Now, these two are connectors. Basically, what a connector is it connects with your Claude system to give access to any kind of external apps. In the Claude interface, you also have different models that are accessible for you. So, HiQ gives you the fastest answers, Sonnet gives you the most efficient ones for everyday tasks, and Opus 4.5 is the one which is the heaviest model. So, this is something for, let's say, developing a website. I would probably use the Opus 4.7. Now, I'm going to quickly switch to HiQ 4.5 because most of the formatting stuff can be done by HiQ 4.5 and it's very low when it comes to token usage. Now, what is a token? A token is essentially the currency that Claude uses to generate answers for you. So, you would want to limit your tokens because you don't want to exhaust through them quickly. Now, up here in this interface, when you go here, which says add files, connectors, and more, here you can see something called skills. Now, I have created a lot of skills. I have imported a lot of skills that I have found on the internet. These are skills that I use on a daily basis, whether it's an AI weekly digest or it's a canvas which creates designs and PDFs, whether it's content writing, content research, whether it's creating a new skill in itself. Now, the skill creator is an inbuilt skill that comes in Claude, which lets you create skills for specific use cases. And that's what we're going to also use in this video to create a new skill. Now, there are certain skills like PPTX, XLSX, and PDF Creator that are inbuilt skills which you cannot access from your dashboard here. So if you go to manage skills, this is what opens. So these are all my personal skills, if you see, right? And all of them, Humaniser is a very famous one that's available on the internet. I recommend you use this so that you can remove signs of AI generated writing from your text. Now, you can also see skill creator is a skill where you can see the method that Claude uses to create a skill for you. Similarly, here you can see the actual markdown file or the code. So you can toggle between the code and the preview. This is the preview mode where you can see what exactly it does. So it gives you context on how to create a skill, how to write the markdown file, you know, what are the writing patterns to follow, what is the output format, what are the examples for the output format, the kind of writing styles that are required in creating a skill. Everything comes from here. So, what are the use cases to create new skills, modify and improve the existing ones, measure skill performance, use it when users actually want to create a skill, edit and optimize an existing skill, run evaluations to test a skill, and benchmark skill performance with variance analysis or optimize a skills description for better triggering accuracy. This description is the part which actually helps you to decide, or even Claude to decide, when to use a skill in chat. And this is probably one of the most important ones, right? And if you see the skill creator, it says added by who, added by Anthropic. And the trigger is usually the slash command, that is, you do slash skill creator or automatically whenever it's relevant. Now, if I go to some other one, like caption generator is something that I did. So it says added by you when it was last updated and how it's triggered. Now, let's get on to creating and utilizing a skill to make a PowerPoint. Okay, folks. So, what we're going to do right now is utilize the inbuilt skill to make the PowerPoint presentation using the Orenda brief that I covered in the last episode, right? So, I'm going to quickly write, help me make a stakeholder presentation for proposing or for this brief. Very simple. And let's see if Haiku does it, or I'll have to maybe change the mode to Sonnet. Now it's going to read the campaign brief. It's already done that. The next step, what it's going to do is read the presentation. So it's reading the PowerPoint skill. So I want you to understand this. See, it's reading the PowerPoint skill. Now it's installing the required scripts for the presentation, right? And then it's running the command. The running the command is the command that it's running to make the presentation itself. Now, while that's running, this is the moment where most people's instinct is probably adding more instructions. You have to be absolutely patient with this. It takes time to run, but it delivers one of the best results. So, if you have the urgency to write something like, make sure the slides are clean, keep it under 12 slides, use a professional tone, you actually don't need to. The skill already has those standards built in. And that's usually a sign you're trying to override. If you tell it not to do it, it'll basically override the skill if you prompt heavily inside the skill. And that's a sign usually where you're trying to override it rather than using the skill. So take a seat back and just relax. And if you see it's running commands, it's editing the slide, it's verifying the presentation, it's doing everything. Now it's giving me the entire presenter guide along with the deck. Now, if you see it's presentation generation, converting presentation to PDF for image interaction, converting PDF to individual slides. So it's doing each and everything. See, it's doing visual inspection. It's verifying the final presentation slide. And now it's creating the presentation. This is a markdown file using which I think it will create a presentation for this. And now the PowerPoint is here for you. So if you see here, the entire PowerPoint is available along with a presenter's guide. So a presenter's guide is basically telling us about the talking points of what this deck is not and how to present it. And this is the stakeholder Diwali deck that will be utilized for this. Now I used Haiku, so the kind of colors that they use and everything is a bit basic. But let's see what happens when you upgrade the model with the skill. All right, folks. So now I'm going to try and upgrade the model to Sonnet 4.6. And I'm going to quickly add the file, the Orenda brief, right here. And I'm going to simply write create a presentation for stakeholders based on this brief. Let's see how this model performs. See, again, it says it's reading the PPTX skill. So this is the PPTX skill actually. Let me quickly show you this by the time it is going through everything and creating the presentation. So it's setting up dependencies and doing all of that. So in here, you see the description. It says you can use this skill anytime a .x file is involved in any way, input and output both. Then it says what to make, whether to make, how to read and analyze the content, how to edit and create from a template or create from scratch. And then it gives extensive guidelines of what it should do. It also says what not to do. So what kind of mistakes need to be avoided in creating the actual PowerPoint. It talks about text box padding. It talks about do not default to cream or beige backgrounds. Think about these different colors or users brand palette. Now, this is also something that you can set inside your Claude, which I have not yet, but I will show you how to set that up in upcoming videos as well. So, how to set your own brand palette. And then there is other things about visual, the different subagents, even for 2-3 slides. Then it gives code and it even talks about converting to images. Now you cannot save this skill if you see. I will tell you why, because the skill name is already in use. So you already need to have another thing. Why? Because this is an inbuilt skill in Claude. So there's no way that you can redo it. Let's check where our presentation is. Okay, so it is at the part where the JavaScript, so JS, script is being written. So you can't see the file yet for very obvious reasons. But let's also understand what language is the skill written in. The skill is written in a markdown language. So this is markdown. This is another I wouldn't say programming language, but another document writing language. All right. So this is completely created and it also hit its limit. This happens more often than not because if there are any issues, it also tries to resolve the issues. So there were 2 issues and then the tool usage limit hits. So you have to basically click continue so that everything gets delivered to you. So it's doing everything. So it's literally trying to create a well rendered and complete file that is with the correct output. So now it's rechecking everything, ensuring that everything that's given to me is perfect. And now it says that all the slides are clean, so it's copying to output. And there you have it. The entire Orenda Diwali campaign created for us. Brilliant. And you see the moment that we actually upgrade our model, the kind of campaign, the kind of designing also goes better. So designing can even go better if I change to Opus 3 or even Opus 4.6. And yeah, it will basically create a brilliant PowerPoint like this. Now, we saw this in the last video, right? So this is very similar to that. But now let me take you through the next section, which is actually understanding what kind of skills to invoke when you are working in a different role inside your team. So the question I get most often at this point is how do I know which skill to use for a given task? And there are 2 ways to come at it, right? And both of them are valid. So you can either choose by your role. So say I'm a content writer and what applies to me, or you can choose by output. you need. So I need a spreadsheet. So what skill produces that? So let me walk you through that, both of them, in the next segment. Now let's first understand what skill to use when according to the different roles, right? So a content writers, your main skills are going to be something like a humanizer and the DOCX. So humanizer strips the AI tone out of copy and makes it sound like an actual person wrote it. On the other hand, the DOCX skill takes your content and makes it into a clearly formatted document that can be sent ahead to either clients or to the various stakeholders that require this copy, right? Whether it's for a website or if it's for a reel or if it's a blog, whatever it is, you can send it ahead in a properly formatted document. For social media managers, Caption Generator is a very simple skill that you can create using the Claude Skills. Create, especially the skill creator skill. Wow, that's a mouthful. But the skill creator skill, and it takes a script or a topic as an input, and it makes ready to post captions according to the different platforms that you need to post it across. A reel script generator is something that I made to help me write and produce short form video scripts in a specific length and format. So, whatever suits me, that's the way I write it. Both of these get full episodes in this series, so don't worry about it. We'll cover both of them extensively. Now, for marketing managers, right? What is it that is your biggest headache? That's creating decks and making trackers and budget sheets. So, there is a PowerPoint X deck creator that we just saw in action. Similarly, there is an Excel file creator and reader. So it handles your data, it creates structure for you, and gets back a working spreadsheet in the right format. And this is important if you're somebody who handles data analysis for your marketing team on a daily basis. Now, a performance marketer, again, XLS, the Excel file is something useful because a lot of your workflow also involves PDFs. So, reading PDF reports from different agencies or platforms, right? Whether it's invoices. And the PDF reading skill is specifically designed to extract and restructure this kind of data. And once you pair it with the Excel skill, you have replaced the copy paste grind from all the agency reports. Now, the part that is important is the brand manager skill. So you can have DOCX for guidelines that you would want to create, to tone documents, to create briefs. You have PDFs to make client ready reports and deliverables. And you can create your own brand voice skill that can help decide the formatting of all the documents that you have to send ahead and all the creatives that need to be put out. So, according to role, these are the skills that we think are going to be useful for you. Now, let's go to output type. All right. By output type, there are a lot of things that skills can do for you. So, if you know what you need to produce, but you're less sure which skill handles it, you can work backwards. So, for example, if you want to create a PowerPoint, you can use the PowerPoint skill. To create a document, you can create a DOCX skill, right? And if you want to read Excel files, you have this, right? If you want to understand a PDF, that is read it or write a PDF, you have the PDF reading and also the PDF writing skill. Now, all of this is there if, let's say, you want to humanize data, right? That is, humanize your writing, you have the humanizer skill. If you need a script, then you have the real script generator. If you need a platform, a specific caption generator, you have that. Now, all of this is available, but there's one honest caveat here, that is, some tasks may span across skills. So, what does that mean? It basically means that instead of one job being fit into a particular box of a skill and pretending that every job fits neatly in one box, we are trying to understand that all of these can work across each other. So let me give you a quick example. Let's say a campaign report comes in and it's in a PDF format, right? And then it needs to be written in the form of a DOCX, right? That your team can edit. So it is going to touch two skills: one, PDF reading, and two, DOCX to create the actual doc. We cover those multi skill chains in the later episodes. But for now, if you're just getting started, pick one skill, one output type, and get the pattern down. Then you can start chaining better. Everything I've talked about so far is about using skills as an individual. But I want to spend a couple of minutes on what this looks like at a team level because that's where the skill actually comes in. So, when a person on a team uses a skill, right, they get faster. When the whole team uses the same skill, something different happens. The output becomes consistent. A junior coordinator running the PPTX skill produces a deck to the same standard as someone who's been in the role for 5 years. Not because they're more experienced, but because the quality standard is baked into the workflow rather than living in someone's head. So, if you manage a team, here's a question that I want to ask you. What are the 2 or 3 outputs your team produces every week where you spend time reviewing for consistency? Whether it's decks that all look slightly different, copy that needs to be edited for tone every time, or reports that come back in 4 different formats depending on who ran them. Those inconsistencies aren't a talent problem, right? They're actually a workflow problem. And that's exactly the kind of problem a skill is designed to fix. The skills in this series cover the most common marketing workflows, the one that come up across almost every team I've seen. But the one thing worth knowing is that you can build your own. A skill trained on your specific brand voice. A PowerPoint skill that uses your company's template rather than the generic ones that we saw. A brief format that matches exactly what your agency expects. The last episode in this series will cover exactly that, on how to build a custom skill from scratch, when it's worth doing, and what to watch out for. I'll flag it again at the end of this series, but I wanted to plant that idea now because for some teams, it's going to be the most valuable thing in here. For everyone else, start with what's already built. Get comfortable with the trigger pattern, find the skill that applies to your most time consuming output, run it on a real task this week. The point isn't to understand skills in the abstract, right? It's to do one task differently and feel the difference yourself. So, from here, the series will move into role specific episodes. Each one covers a single job function, the skills that would apply to it, the live demos of the workflows, and the exact before and after comparisons. You don't need to watch them in order, so you can find your role in the description below and go straight there. If you're a content writer, that's episode number 3. If you're a social media manager, 4. Marketing manager, 5. Performance marketer, 6. And brand manager, episode number 7. If you have watched the first video and left a comment in with your job title, I read all of them and they genuinely shaped what I'm prioritizing in this series. If you haven't, same question. What role are you in and what's the task in your week that still takes longer? But if you like our content, do consider subscribing to our channel. Go hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we post new videos in this series and also across all our series. And I'll see you for the next one.